Hello Orchid friends, welcome back to my channel. Wherever you are, I hope you're having a great day, staying healthy and staying safe. Today we're going to take a look at my Phalaenopsis green Pixie. This is a medium-sized Phalaenopsis from a grocery store. So I've had this orchid for almost 4 years. And what you're seeing right now is basically photos and a video clip from its previous bloom cycle. This will give you a reference point in terms of how it looked like before, and then later we're going to look at how it's doing during this blooming cycle. Overall, this orchid, even though it doesn't have any fragrance, its color actually brings me joy every single time it blooms, because this color is almost like lime green, but with a hint of yellow. It doesn't have any fragrance, unfortunately, but it's a very, I would say, sturdy, because I haven't really given this orchid too much special care. Now, this orchid is in a water culture setup, so it's currently sitting in a 16-ounce cup container, and I go between full water culture and semi-water culture because I noticed that it wasn't really quite liking the full water culture method, so I decided to cut back and give it some dry days, usually 3 days or so, and it started to like it a little bit more. It didn't have that many roots, but it was okay. I think it was just adequate enough that it whenever I give it water, it would soak up the water and not have any signs of dehydration. But ever since I purchased it, and every time it reblooms, it only gives me a couple flowers at a time. It was never enough, never as many as when I first got it, like 5 blooms or so. So I'm guessing that there's something that this orchid is not liking it, even though later you'll see that it was still trying to grow new roots and put out new leaves, but something is not right. And I'm guessing either the nutrients is still slightly, to be desired. The amount of fertilizer I give to this orchid, I probably need to up it a little bit. Or I need to give it a little bit more light exposure, because right now it's in a slightly, I would say, less bright location in my grow space. So that and fertilizer are the two aspects where I think I can improve for this orchid. Another possibility is maybe I just simply need to put it into a different container with media. And what I usually use is a mixture of manto clay and hydrocorn. So maybe that's another thing I could do. I haven't really decided what I want to do with this orchid yet. But coming up, we are going to start seeing the photos I took from this current bloom cycle. Since last year, this orchid grew a little bit more roots, so that was a good sign, and it also started to put out a new leaf. Granted, you can see at the bottom, it's trying to retire its oldest leaf. And by the way, for leaves yellowing at a slower speed, gosh, for this orchid, I remember it took it almost 1 month to entirely yellow out its oldest leaf, and then it fell off. So when it's slow like that, there's nothing for you to worry about. But if your orchid's leaves are falling within 2 or 3 days, and sometimes it's not even entirely yellow and it fell off, you do have to check the root system and or pest infestation possibility there. So this orchid was trying to put out new leaves. It was good, and it grew more roots, like I said, so I think it was on the right track. However, I was still not quite sure this orchid completely looked healthy or happy 100%. So I was doing a little bit of research, and really, I really think that it needs a little bit more sunlight. and maybe another repot would do it good, because this time around it still gave me 3 buds, but I can tell you only one flower survived, and the other 2 also blasted due to a big degree of temperature fluctuation. I also had a couple days where it was just too crazy, and this orchid as well as 1 or 2 other orchids had a little bit of bud blast situation. So it is what it is. I'm still trying to figure out what else I can do to help this orchid. And if you have many orchids like I do, you probably also run into this situation where you like some orchids from the beginning, but then at some point you decided that, it's not bringing you as much joy, so you tend to neglect it a little bit. And because of the neglect, the performance is not as good, and then because it's low performance, you then pay even less attention to that particular orchid. And this is kind of this is what happened here. It's like a downward spiral, because it's not doing so well, so I pay less attention, and because of that, it's doing even worse. So what I have decided to do is, this time around, after the blooms are done, I'm going to really think about if I want to change the growing method, out of the water culture method, and give it some medium. I may still have some sphagnum moss somewhere. Maybe I would actually try to put a little bit of moss in there without removing this orchid completely, because some of the roots have already anchored itself onto the side of the cup. So maybe I'll put some sphagnum moss in there just to see if this orchid likes it, and if not, I can always take everything out and transfer it to a more of a inorganic traditional setup. So maybe that'll do the trick. We'll see. But really, I think nutrients is also another thing. I will probably up the nutrients a little bit, either increase the concentration or increase the frequency. Between watering, maybe I can just give it another dose. Maybe just give it a couple spray with the water that has fertilizer in it. I haven't decided yet, but if you have any suggestion, feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below the video. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this quick clip, and I'll talk to you next time. This is all I have for you today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you would like to get more orchid related videos from my channel, please subscribe and turn on the notification. I want to wish you happy growing, and I will talk to you in my next video. Ciao!